Welcome back to the channel, everyone. We're doing another quick video response. This is for actually pretty much everybody's good friend in the hobby, Scott over at Reindeer Studios. He has reached 5 years making videos on YouTube and has 1,500 subs, which is fantastic. He's asking for us to be able to make a video of our favorite uniform. So I decided to pick my favorite team to go with my favorite uniform of theirs, and have a few cards to go with it. It was a little hard actually finding cards for this because they only wore this uniform for 3 years, and it was 1932 through 1935, and it was their home uniforms. I thought I had more cards featuring this uniform, but I actually have cards that actually feature the uniform that came either before or later. So I was only able to find 3 examples that highlight this uniform. So let me start with the one where it's most clear. So this was like an all-white uniform that had blue piping, and it had the White Sox emblem in blue with like a red bat and a baseball in it. This John Whitehead, I should say, JoJo White was a different player, was one I picked up recently, mostly because of the uniform. It was fairly inexpensive. It's a 36 Gaudy wide pen, which I do like these photographs / cards that were released in the late 30s. This one still has his uniform from the previous years. This wasn't the current uniform at the time when these were released. By that time, they had already changed their uniforms to kind of an image similar to this, but they removed the bat and ball at that one, and they wore that one pretty much through the end of the 40s before they changed to the uniforms that we now saw in Ken with the 1950s White Sox. So I looked through the Diamond Star set. I'm like, this was released in that time period. It must have a lot. Well, I found out that most of the cards actually had images for either before or after in a lot of the ones, so I kind of struggled finding some. But two of the ones actually feature one Hall of Famer and one guy that's noted for a different reason in baseball history I'll mention in a minute. But the Al Simmons card. I'm misspeaking all kinds of ways today. Al Simmons, obviously a Hall of Fame player who played for the White Sox in the mid-30s. This was not a good time for the White Sox. They lost a lot of games during this era, but he was one of our all-stars during this before he was traded over to the Detroit Tigers. So you can see he has the emblem on there on his uniform. On his 36 release, when he was moved to the Tigers, they removed that, actually. So this is actually a 35 release of that card. And then the manager player, Lou Fonseca, who's a previous MVP with Cleveland. I don't know what this hat is. He must have been the hat he wore because he was the manager, but it's not like their official hat. I don't know where he got that, but you can see the emblem is here is clearly outlined where you have the bats and the ball, even though the bat's kind of the wrong color on this one. But you can see that the blue for the actual emblem is actually correct. So Lou didn't play much as a player during this time, and he was actually over 2 really bad teams at the time he managed. But he's actually more noted for getting into Major League Baseball films and filming a lot of and narrating, helping with the filming and the narration and production of the World Series films that we saw through the 1940s to the early 60s. So that's more of his claim to baseball fame as opposed to his time as a player, although he did win an MVP in the 1920s. So that's what I got. Scott, congratulations. I'm glad we had a Cleveland tie with Lou here, since I know it's your team. And I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day.